Hey guys, how you doing? Mr. Evan speaking here. Thank you so much for staying with us. In one of our new videos, today we are talking about active and passive voice. But first, remember to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, follow us on Instagram, and here we go. Guys, active and passive voice. The voice of a verb in a sentence is used according to what the speaker is going to emphasize. Because if the emphasis is on the subject, we use the active voice. However, if the speaker intends to highlight the action or not to mention the doer, the agent, passive voice is used. So we use the passive voice when we don't know or when we don't want to talk about who performed the action, or even if the agent, the doer, is not important, okay, to general understanding. So let's check some examples and it's gonna be more interesting to understand. So there are differences. When we have A, we're talking about active, and when we have B, we're talking about passive voice. The classic example is Graham Bell invented the telephone in 1876. My emphasis here is about Graham Bell. So Graham Bell performed this action. He invented the telephone. In the passive voice, when I say the telephone was invented, I don't start talking about Graham Bell. I start talking about the telephone. The telephone is my new subject. And I say was invented. I can mention who performed this action, like by Graham Bell, or if I just want to emphasize things about the telephone or the time, I'm going to say the telephone was invented in 1876. So this by Graham Bell is not necessary, but if I want to mention, there is no big deal. Guys, attention, because the passive voice is made by the verb to be and the other verb in the past participle. Here, the verb invent is a regular verb. That's why it's the same as the sentence in the passive voice. It's like invent, invented, invented. But in other examples, we are going to see that in the passive voice, the past participle is going to be used. Okay, so let's go. The verb be is always used in the passive voice. Always. Always you have the verb be. Of course, not exactly the word be, but in other ways, like in other examples such as is, are, were, okay? So the verb be is always used in the passive voice and it follows the verb tense according to when the action happened. Why I say when? Because it's important to know that this sentence needs to be performed in the same tense as the active voice. Let's follow more examples here. The police arrests criminals every day. As you can see, guys, I'm talking about a habit, a routine. That's why my statement is in the simple present, arrests. When I change this sentence, or if I want to say this sentence in the passive voice, I need to say criminals are arrested. Notice that are is the verb be, but it's not exactly be. I say are because it's in the present and it's in the plural. So criminals are arrested every day, or criminals are arrested by the police every day. The second example, they should call the firefighters right now. The firefighters should be called by them right now. or the firefighters should be called right now. In this case, should is a modal verb, and that's why I have to use should be and the verb in the past participle. We're going to talk about it right now in our attention one. When a modal verb is used, such as can, may, should, must, will or would, some people don't consider will or would modal verbs, but as they talk about the future and they follow the same rule, we're going to include it here. We're going to include them here. We just add the verb be in its base form, exactly the way it is. So if we say we must sweep the floor, I could say that the floor must be swept. Notice here that the verb sweep is irregular. That's why I have to use the past participle. And the past participle of sweep is swept. Attention to sentences in perfect tenses. Sorry, it's not is, it's in. Sentences in perfect tenses require the verb be to be used in the past participle too. The form is been. Example, someone has cleaned our street recently. Our street has been cleaned recently. Notice that I say our street and then I use has because it's singular. The sentence in the active voice was in the present perfect, so I continue with the present perfect but with the verb be. So I'm going to say our street has been and the past participle of the verb clean, which is cleaned. So my sentence in the passive voice is our street has been cleaned recently. All right, everyone. So that was our class today. If you have more questions, watch it again. If you have comments, please write them in our channels, in our pages, and we'll be very happy to help you. Okay? Thank you.